Week 7 of college football is upon us. Let's get into my picks for Week 7. Here we go. BYU, Arizona. BYU coming into Tucson undefeated on the season. Bear Bachmeier, 69% completion so far this season, 7 touchdowns, 1 interception. BYU, the case against them, their best opponent has been a relatively below average Colorado squad. LJ Martin, he's been playing really well, 6.4 yards per carry. Chase Roberts has been their go-to number one receiver. He's averaging nearly 20 yards per reception. On the other side of the field, Noah Fafita, 13 touchdowns and 3 interceptions on the year. Ismail Mahdi, 6 yards per carry. He's running the ball really efficiently. The Wildcats have 7 receivers averaging over 11.5 yards per reception, so they're going to be airing it out. It's going to be a back and forth bloodbath in Tucson tonight on primetime. I like the Wildcats to cover and to win. I think this will be a huge comeback for them after that blowout against Iowa State, but I think the home crowd will be there. Brent Brennan has been emphasizing it all week. I think the Desert Swarm, their defense, they need to show up this game and contain BYU. I think if it gets out of hand with a shootout, it could go in BYU's favor, but give me the Wildcats 24-21. Next up on the slate, we have Alabama and Missouri. We got some great SEC matchups this weekend, and this is the first one of the day. It's a noon Eastern kickoff. Ty Simpson, he's right up there with Dante Moore in the Heisman conversation. You can check out my Heisman top 5 for this week. 1,000, almost 500 yards on the season, 13 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Jeremy Bernard is his go-to receiver. He has 25 catches, over 300 yards, and 5 touchdowns, almost 16 yards per reception. So I expect him to have a huge, huge day. On the other side of the field, Penn State transfer Bo Pribula is playing out of his mind, 76% completion percentage, 9 touchdowns with those 3 interceptions. His backfield mate, Ahmad Hardy, is the best running back in the country up to this point. 103 carries, 730 yards, and 9 touchdowns. Expect a couple of those today from him. Almost 7 yards per carry is absolutely ridiculous. But going back and forth all week, I think this is going to be a close one, as I think all of these games will be close. But Bama, give me the spread, 2.5, 27-23. We'll have to see what happens with this game. It's not quite a must win, but it's really close because Bama, with that one loss earlier in the season to Florida State to open up the season, they don't have a lot of room for error left. And I just think the talent will guide them to victory. Ty Simpson and the offense has been playing stellar. I think that's the best part of Alabama's game plan is their passing attack. So they will have to rack up the points in order to win that one in Columbia. Next up, Indiana, Oregon, another top 10 matchup. The Hoosiers are ranked in the top 10 for back-to-back seasons and the first time in their history. And Oregon, it seems like every week is playing a top 10 matchup and winning for the most part. Dan Lanning has been unbelievable there in Oregon. 41-1 in their last 42 home games in Autzen Stadium. I cannot wait to go to a game there someday. I heard the crowd environment, the noise is just deafening. So I'll definitely have to catch a game there in the future. Fernando Mendoza could very well be the number 1 pick in this upcoming NFL draft. 1,200 yards on the season, 16 touchdowns, only 1 interception. We'll see if that changes today. On the other side of the field, Dante Moore with very similar stats. Only 2 more yards for him passing and 14 touchdowns with 1 interception. 7.5, last time I checked, was the spread. I think that could be a bit too high. I like the Ducks, though, still to come away with the victory. Give me Oregon 28-24. John Mateer is probable for the Red River Showdown. It has been a great, great rivalry that we've been able to enjoy for the last couple of years. Now an SEC matchup, not a Big 12 matchup anymore. OU, Texas. OU coming in ranked 6th in the country. Texas was favored earlier in the week, but with John Mateer now probable, and he most likely will start, this being such a huge game for Brent Venables and that staff. I think it's going to be interesting. Coming off surgery, it'll be a little bit less than 3 weeks since he did have that surgery, so we'll have to see if that affects him. Before the surgery, before the injury, he looked like one of the best players in the country. On the opposite side of that coin, Arch Manning looks like one of the most disappointing players in the country. 1,200 yards passing, 11 touchdowns, but 5 interceptions. He's been sacked 9 times already this season. So Oklahoma, having one of the best defenses in the country, they have to absolutely get pressure on Arch Manning to win this game. Mateer or Hawkins, whoever it is, whoever's playing there at quarterback for the for Oklahoma, they just have to not lose the game. They have to be aggressive, but not overly aggressive. Whoever it is playing that quarterback position, I think Oklahoma's going to win this. Flipping from the 1.5 from Texas to Oklahoma, now that it is, I still like them to cover that spread. Give me Oklahoma 20, Texas 17 in a great game. I expect that one to be. Another SEC matchup, Georgia, number 10 in the country, goes to Jordan-Hare and visits the Tigers of Auburn. We've had a lot of great matchups between these squads. There's always a matchup in the SEC that seems to be an upset every week because that conference is so dang close. Now, Georgia has lost to Alabama and had that close overtime victory over Tennessee, and Auburn has had 2 heartbreaking losses back-to-back with Oklahoma and Texas A&M. Will this be the week that Auburn is able to get over the hump and defeat a top 10 opponent? I think this could be one of those games that very well could happen, but I'm not bold enough this week to predict an upset of that nature. I think Georgia barely covers the 3.5. Give me the Bulldogs 24-20. Michigan travels all the way to Los Angeles to play the USC Trojans. Bryce Underwood, I think this is his redemption. Earlier in the season, he had that heartbreaking loss to Oklahoma on the road. So this is his opportunity to come out and have a little bit of a pick-me-up after that one loss. They've been playing really well recently. Justice Haynes for the Wolverines is playing like one of the best backs in the Big Ten, let alone the entire country. 85 carries on the season, 654 yards with 8 touchdowns. That's over 7.5 yards per carry, folks. On the other side of the field, this USC offense is completely the opposite of Michigan's playing style. Michigan has that typical Big Ten, tough, pounded on the ground. Bryce Underwood will air it out a couple times, not as much as Jaden Mayava for USC. He's going to air it out all day. He's got over 1,500 passing yards, 11 touchdowns, and 1 interception on the year. Wayman Jordan in the backfield for the Trojans is a great athlete. 7 yards per carry for him and 5 touchdowns on the season. This is going to be back and forth, folks. We're going to have another great matchup in the Big Ten this week. I like Michigan for the upset in the Coliseum. I think Michigan's going to run away with it. 30-27. Don't be surprised if it comes down to a field goal, folks. Some things to watch this week. I think out of the Heisman front runners, who's going to stand out the most between Ty Simpson, Fernando Mendoza, Dante Moore, and John Mateer? These quarterbacks have a bunch of matchups that are high profile. So who's going to stand out the most? I think that'll be an opportunity for all of them to separate themselves in that Heisman conversation. Games with potential upsets I could see happening. Maryland, watch out for them. They have one of the best freshman quarterbacks in the country. Malik Washington, he's going to have a battle with Dylan Raiola. I think Maryland very well could win that game. Arkansas, Tennessee, don't sleep on the Razorbacks as they visit Knoxville. I think both of these teams coming off a bye. It'll be interesting to see kind of where these squads' heads are at. Arkansas coming off a loss, and Tennessee having that loss earlier to Georgia. But Aguilar, this is his opportunity to come out of the bye and either take the reins and win this one handily, or Arkansas, are they going to cause some troubles? Taylon Green has been he's been okay to start the year. He's one of the best athletes in the SEC, but I think Arkansas, this is a huge opportunity for them to see if they can pull off an upset in the SEC. Another situation of teams coming off a bye, we have South Carolina and LSU. LSU 11th in the country, although they have not played like the 11th best team in the country so far. Lenore Sellers, This has not been his year. As we've mentioned previously, this quarterback class is very, very disappointing so far this season. So Lenore Sellers, this is his opportunity to go into LSU and have a moment. Have yourself a moment. Show us why we were expecting so highly of you this season. So this is a huge game for both teams. LSU, another loss would really, really hurt their chances of making the playoff. And South Carolina, this would be a great win for Shane Beamer. Last but not least, an under-the-radar game that could go one of two ways. I think this Texas A&M Florida game could either be an Aggies blowout at home, or I think the Gators can make it close. The Gators obviously have had a disappointing season, but last week they were able to upset Texas. But I think that's more of a fault on Texas than promise for the Gators. I think Texas has been overrated all season. Their defense is phenomenal, but I think the offense is just, it's not clicking at all for Arch Manning and that squad. So I think Florida can keep it close, but I do think Texas A&M will take off in the second half and kind of pull away. So expect that one to be close, folks. But the Aggies, I think, will win pretty handily. They are playing like a top 5 team in the country. So this SEC race down the stretch as we get through the heart of October, November, it'll be so fun to see what happens. The Big 12 as well, we have some great games. Iowa State, Colorado could be another game to watch, folks. Colorado really is just playing with house money at this point. They don't really have that Big 12 championship in sight for them, but Iowa State surely does, and Colorado could really throw a wrench in that for the Cyclones. So that one I think could be close, and then as I mentioned earlier, I think BYU Arizona is going to be, hopefully, fingers crossed, as me being an Arizona fan, I hope it's a great game there in Tucson, and I hope my Wildcats can come away with a victory. But this has been the Rombough Show, Week 7 college football predictions. We'll have more content coming out per usual, and thanks for watching. Make sure to share with some friends and hit that subscribe button. We're only getting better from here, so thanks for watching.